not let out.
And they're a representative. So.
Welcome to the special meeting of the Mayor and Council of Oakland. Today is Monday, May 9th, and 2022. This is a special meeting, and roll call.
Mayor Schwager.
Here.
Councilman Kamala.
Here.
Councilman Pignatelli.
Here.
Councilman Saliani.
Here.
Councilman Slisinski.
Here.
Councilman Talamini, absent.
Well, Council Talamini has to recuse himself from this hearing because his wife is a teacher at one of the schools, for the Board of Ed, for the Board of Ed. So do we have to excuse him, or he's already excused?
Motion excuse.
Second, excuse him.
Excuse him? Okay. At this time, we ask you to stand to the flag and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. This meeting is being held in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Law duly announced, advertised, and posted in the municipal building. The meeting will adjourn at 10 p.m. unless majority of the council members that are present vote to extend the time. Remember, this is a special meeting just to talk about the school budget, which failed in town. So if you have open comments, please come up as soon as I get the votes. Motion to open?
Motion.
Oh, sorry.
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 All in favor?
Aye.
Now you can speak. Name and address.
Jeff Mutterer, 101 Walnut Street. I voted no because we were reassessed. The high school is almost 3.6%. We don't need any more taxes in this town. And there's plenty of money for K through 8. There is. You know, I mean, when does it stop? When do we stop feeling the pain of money going up and up, our taxes? You know, I mean, I'm asking, please just let it be. Everyone voted. This was our vote. And I voted no. And personally, everyone that voted it down, they voted it down because we're getting nailed and we're getting hammered. And it's not fair. You know, it hurts people that, you know, I'm on Social Security disability. I have one income coming in, one. You know, my Social Security doesn't cover anything. It covers the kids' clothing, whatever they need. But it's killing us.
Hmm?
So I'm asking, please, we know what we voted for. We know we didn't vote for the Board of Ed. You can't for the high school. You can't vote for that. Everybody knows that. You cannot vote for that. Those people vote for the high school. We made a choice. This is our choice, the people that said no. And it's not gonna kill them this year, you know? They have money. Oakland's not doing bad. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Michael Elston, 78 Manitou. I know that everybody sees me a lot. I usually don't get up and say
No,
too
you
much.
don't.
I usually don't, but I thought it was kind of important. My son turned 18.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And, you know, he's getting ready to go to college, and, you know, we got him registered, and he went in and he voted. And today, his very first question to me was, when I got back home, was, Dad, if the town turns around and changes our vote, then what do we vote for in the first place? He was like, if they're gonna overturn what I voted for, then why am I bother voting? Why did you make it such a big deal for me to go and vote and make me read all of that stuff, you know? So just please, just consider it. I don't believe from what I saw, I could be wrong, the vote wasn't even close. So we gotta take in consideration what the constituents the residents of the town are thinking. I would just ask you to please consider what the town's thinking. I believe she was correct. From what I can see, the schools have a little bit of a surplus. I know that we have to plan 3, 4, 5 years out to make sure that the town doesn't get hurt. This town runs really well. I'm just really proud of the town, but I just wanted to tell everybody, just take an extra minute because, like I said, young voter, trying to explain to them why it's important to vote. I really
Thank you.
appreciate your time. Thank
And
you.
congratulations to you that your son took such an interest in voting. You're a good father.
Thank you.
Thank you for setting that example, to be honest.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I don't usually get up and talk, but
You have to give your name and
Chris
address.
Puelko, 73 Manitowoc. Single mom here. I voted no, and your constituents voted no. Like they said, it wasn't even close. You have to consider your constituents, because we're the ones who put you there. We said no, and they have money. Thank you.
Thank you. No more? No? Motion to close?
Motion to close.
All
Close, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, tonight's meeting is a discussion of the defeated school budget. We only have control over K through 8. What happens when the budget is defeated, it then goes to the mayor and council. And we have 3 choices. We can either say no cut, or we could say it's fine, or we can just do nothing. And so on May 2nd, it was May 2nd, right?
Yes.
May 2nd, I wrote it down. Council President Pat Pignatelli, myself, and Councilman Steve Saliani, with Richard, and was David?
No,
David was
David
out
wasn't.
sick, something else. Met with the business administrator of the local schools, and Gina Caparo, and one of the school board members, Serbo, right? School board member, Serbo. And we went through the budget and the different items, and they gave us their proposal, and we pretty much, we said to them, look, we have to answer to the public, and the public said, let's vote down the school budget. Unfortunately, for all of us, I mean, our schools are very good. I have no complaints about the schools. My 3 sons went through the entire public school system of Oakland. Manitou, Valley Middle School, and Indian Hills High School. They got into great colleges and they excelled, and they said they were very prepared when they got into college. So I have no complaints about our school system. I have complaints about the money, we all do. Listen, all of us up here pay the same, we all have to pay taxes. And I'm not gonna ask anybody how they voted, but it was voted down. It was voted down. We are stuck in many ways with the contracts. They have contracts with teachers, and even I said to them at one point, there seems to be a very top-heavy in the school system. And they said, no, they're mandated, right? Isn't that what they said, Steve?
They're
They're
mandated in a
mandated
few
by the
programs.
state. Right?
There's a few programs that are mandated. We did actually question the supervisor to supervisor ratio. And because what we did was, I mean, not to get too much detail, we actually went across a comparison, and this is all public information, anyone can do it, of, and thanks to help the CFO, of students per classroom, teachers per student ratio, and admin versus teacher ratio. And the groups went through, we are basically on par with where we are other districts. In other districts, and when I say other districts, we did a comparison, but I think we should compare ourselves to Flow, because Franklin Lakes and Wyckoff are kids share the same high school, so to me, it's very, very similar. And we are on par, and they're adding more superintendents in those budgets than we are. And so we asked those type of questions, and we went through with what can be, what are the problems they're facing, and we walked through all the pitfalls on both sides. Did I miss anything, Mayor?
No, I mean, we talked about the class size.
Mm-hmm.
We talked basically that it's so top-heavy in supervisors and administrators. I questioned because to me it was very important, and it was semantics. They kept talking about, what was the word? It's not-
Media specialist.
Thank you. I kept saying, don't you think you need a full-time librarian in a middle school? You gotta get them ready, I mean, they're dealing with high school, and you have to get them ready for going into high school, regardless of which high school they attend. If they're attending Indian Hills or Ramapo, They're competing, not even competing, they're meeting with students from Franklin Lakes and Wyckoff if they're going to the private schools. They are dealing with other students and their education. And I said, don't you think in a middle school they need a full-time librarian? And they said, but that's what the media specialist. I said, what are you talking about? Why do we need a media specialist in a school? And they said, that's the new politically correct word for a librarian. We're not allowed to call them I guess I'm old school. I kept calling them, right, Pat?
We all
I kept
did, yeah.
saying librarian. They said, no. I said, why do we need a full-time media specialist?
Correct, right.
So they asked us if we're going to cut anywhere, not to cut services for the children. And that's how we left it. Were you at the meeting? And Steve, you want to add something?
No, I mean, I think you've covered there. So overall, just so everyone's aware of, the original budget that was proposed was a 1.35 increase. One point,
Yeah, about
excuse me, 1.23 increase, what was proposed from the previous year, which is pretty good based on where we are, other budgets going up. Doesn't mean that we don't want to pull some stuff out of it, but I will be fair, the Board of Ed presented a great case, and they had all their information and backed up with numbers of what they did. So from that standpoint, they were very prepared, and they were also thinking of the taxpayers as well, understanding what's going on.
All right, I just want you to know, this was the packet they gave us. And it explained, I mean, we went through the entire packet, it was this thick. I made sure that each of the council people reviewed the packet before we came tonight. And the district proposed, Lee, you want to talk about the proposal?
Does it come from you or us? Rich?
What, in terms of the reduction, or?
Yes.
Yeah, sure, we can talk about that a little bit. Okay, and let me kind of set the stage here too, because we're going to be talking about two different little sets of numbers here. The school board, when they present their budget, they talk about the tax increase over their academic year. Okay, so July to June, and that was a 1.23% increase or something. When we talk about it, of course, we're talking about it actually in terms of the impact on the tax year, right? The 2022 calendar year. Those numbers are not the same. So if you cast that, their budget in terms of a property tax increase for this calendar year, and your overall tax burden increase for 2022, it was a 1.72% increase, okay? So in the course of our discussions and our meetings and review, I think there was general consensus that nobody wanted to see instructions or services or programs impacted by whatever cuts would be made, but I think everybody understood that there was a mandate there to take another look at it and do what we could to reduce that increase. So what we wound up focusing on, and I think agreeing to at that meeting, was there were two positions that are currently part-time, a guidance counselor at Dogwood School and the media specialist at Valley
Librarian,
Middle School.
that's in quotes, librarian.
That they had proposed funding to make both of those positions full-time for the upcoming year. We said, well, they're managing now how they're doing it. It may not be ideal, it may not be ultimately what they think is needed, but it's something that they're managing now, and it wouldn't actually hurt anything to continue that for another calendar year.
And could you just explain the guidance counselor at Dogwood? Because I said, why would you want to reduce the guidance counselor when there was a possibility? And they said because the guidance counselor is dealing with special needs also?
It was like a social worker type
Right.
position, and they, shuffle around a little bit in order to try to make it work. So the upcharge to make both of those positions full-time from part-time is $116,916, about $117,000. Over half of that, of course, is because then you're adding in your health benefit costs for both of those positions. So the thought was that was a good solution in terms of being able to provide a little bit of tax relief, not impacting anything that the schools are currently doing. And that essentially was the takeaway from the meeting, and the recommendation to the council would be a cut of almost $117,000 from the proposed tax levy, and that would result in for 2022 calendar year, an overall reduction, when you take that new property tax levy, of about $66 on the average assessed home, okay? Whereas under the budget as proposed, that it went to the voters, it was 40-something dollars would be the average decrease. So this increases that by roughly 50%.
Mayor, the one thing I was impressed with, you know, we talk about spending. They brought up areas that they're going to be trying to save money in. One of them was transportation. They went out to bid before the budget and got a lower rate, and then the budget came out and the rest of the transportation went up. So they did save some of the money there. They're also, I don't know if you're aware, but special education is quite expensive. We have to send some of our students out of town for special education. They are looking at I don't know if retrofitting is the word, one or two of their classrooms, so that next year possibly they can do that here, right?
At Heights.
Yeah, they're looking at reconfiguring some areas in Heights.
Heights, right.
Where they can teach special needs, and instead of us transporting our special needs students out of other districts, we would do it here, it'd save us some busing and a couple other costs. So they're looking to do that to help augment some of the cost of the budget.
That cost is almost $20,000 per student. So it is very, very expensive. And so, like I said, what I was impressed with was not only that, you know, you look at the spending, they're also looking at trying to save in the future.
Mayor?
Yes, please.
I just want to also comment on this. I did meet with the superintendent and the business administrator last Friday, just as the other two gentlemen there did, to really go over the budget and understand what was really in it. And I got to say, it was very eye-opening for, you know, going through that analysis. And I just want to say just echo one thing the mayor said. You know, there is a reason that people want to live in Oakland. It is to really, one of the cornerstones of our community, our quality of the schools, K through 8. And it's really a draw. It's interesting because every time a person moves in the neighborhood by us, I'll stop and talk to them and say, why'd you move here? They said, we moved here because of the schools. And it was, so I mean, to really go through the analysis that the borough administrator and everybody put together here, I think, you know, with you know, maintaining the status quo with the part-time positions rather than moving full-time, you know, I guess, keep me honest here, Mr. Pignatelli, that, you know, they can function just fine the way it is right now without bringing them on full-time.
Correct.
So
There's no impact to any programs across the board.
Well, when they talked about the library, I'm going to call him a librarian because that's what I keep calling. I said, there's some days of the week that there's not going to be a library. They said, no, Linda. Basically, what they said is just that they'll have certain hours each day that the librarian is there, and if it's part-time, then they don't have to pay the benefits that they have to pay the full-time. And I told them, look, we have to cut. The residents voted it down. A majority of the residents voted it down. And so we went through we went through this packet that I showed you, the size of the packet, line items, we went through everything. They had a PowerPoint, it's printed out, the PowerPoint we went through. Each line item, I wish we could cut a lot. Like I said, I think there's an awful lot of supervisors up there, and that's where the money is, up in the administrators. I looked at the salaries. We pay very nice salaries to the teachers.
Mayor, didn't they say something about when a child needs special counseling, that it must be done through a supervisor? And that's one of the reasons?
Who's the supervisor?
Wasn't it a supervisor?
I think I'd have to revisit
That
that.
I don't remember.
I don't remember that exact conversation.
I just know a supervisor is mandated to be there, but I don't think
Right.
the supervisor is the one. We do, and we do, every school system who has special needs children has to pay for them to get the proper education, and it means transportation. And they did show us the increase, and as we all know, because if you look at the gas station, it's gone up.
And I say, we really did take this very serious. We really, really did. As the mayor said, that packet took hours to go through. And again, and one of the things that did surprise me also was the state mandated programs. The school has no choice but to provide the programs that the state says they have to provide, and it's expensive. So we deal with it here too, mandated services. But you know, they always come up with some idea, well, you're really expanding a present service. It's not a new service.
The state gives them money.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
So
The
state gives them money.
and-
Yes.
where they could,
Enrollment's down.
yes, but I understand your point and I respect it. But we asked the same questions, right? So I personally asked that question.
Every
So
question
basically,
you were asking, we asked the same
I
question.
said, well, what about grants can we file for, right? What do we have left from COVID? All things I'm doing in business, right? My real job, as we're doing that, is we're doing the same thing. And the school where they can get grants, they have filed. Where they can get aid, they have filed for it, and they demonstrated that. So I understand the perception you have there, but we asked those questions, and they were able to prove where they've gotten money, and it's actually helped. Remember, the budget only going up that percentage is very good, and that even saved money, and we're gonna be, well, we didn't get there yet, but potentially reduce a little bit more money out of people's pockets. I understand what you're saying, that
And
those were
how
situations
much
are brought into
is it?
consideration.
We don't want to take away from special ed. I
Yeah.
don't think any of us do. And we don't want to take away from special programs, even if we disagree with them, because we know that you're being jammed up. How much of that is for raises above a teacher? How much is it for raises? Because teachers and below, I know they got the teachers union and all that, but administrators and people in admin, they don't have to get raises. There's no mandate, there's no law that says, well, they have to have a raise.
They have contracts, and we went through we went line item, I said, I can't believe this teacher's making this much money.
What was the
There's
biggest
a
line item
teachers-
increase?
The teachers union, I mean.
But what's the line, yeah, but what's
What was
the
the highest
increase?
line item increase from last year to this year that made the taxes go like
The
that?
line, I don't understand.
Like what was the one item?
It was
that
definitely
really
salaries.
jumped up?
Salaries.
It was like
Salaries,
72% with salary.
Salaries were
And that's
incredible.
why-
Control,
And that's
yeah.
why I understand mandates, and I understand there's rules, and I was in the union, and I understand that.
They have a good union.
But, no,
Very
but as far as but you're a judge, there's no laws that say that you have to turn around and give them those raises.
In the union?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, you do. In their contracts? Well, they have a contract, they sign contracts.
But if the town can't pay it, the town can't pay it.
But if you breach a contract, you could be sued. That's unfortunate. I'm talking like a lawyer, I'm sorry.
I understand, it's okay, thank you.
But, listen, I told them we have to cut. And how many times did I say about the administrators? There's an awful lot of administrators, there's a lot of supervisors. I said, there's an awful lot of supervisors and they're making nice money.
Did they say why there's so many?
They said the different programs require
Different programs for
requires
supervisors, and other schools are
specific
increasing theirs.
licenses and specific credentials.
But I think there's a positive that comes out of all this discussion. The fact that you're here, the fact that people went out and vote, I actually think it sends the proper message to all the school boards going forward is you need to demonstrate everything you need.
They better.
And I really think that is the best positive out of all this, that your voices were heard. Listen, I talked to some of you outside this as well, and I do believe that from our system, the Board of Ed, they understand they need to make sure they're clearer and articulate what things are going forward. Those are clear messages they give us.
And we came up with a cut of approximately $117,000 that will not affect one student. And I don't know what else.
And it brings it, the 1.23 down to 0.86%, so less than 1%.
I mean, listen, I wish we could cut some of those
Yeah.
supervisors.
Exactly, yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, that's.
But they talked about the math program, the science program, it requires a supervisor.
Language.
With a special license, with special credentials, and special training, and they have good contracts.
And they demand higher salaries. They know, well, if I have to have these credentials, these licenses, this certification, it's worth more money. Yeah, I mean, they have a bargaining chip there. You know, you made me get more certifications, therefore I deserve more money.
So are they really there for the kids or the money? You know?
Well, we all need money to survive. I mean, we all have bills we have to pay. We can't work for nothing.
No,
But,
I
you know,
get that.
but, you know, I understand what you're saying, but as the mayor said, if they have a contract and we don't pay it, we're in breach of contract. We'll be sued. And then you have to pay for attorney fees and legal fees, and you're spending even more money. We understand, we don't set their contracts, but as Councilman Saliani said, I think the mayor and I and Steve made a point to them that, they better look at these contracts when they come up.
We also looked at when they want to start hiring more teachers.
Yeah,
We told them,
Numbers are down.
that's where they can cut without affecting a contract, by not hiring a replacement.
Because the class sizes will still be the same, right, because the enrollment is down, so.
Mr. Coons, wasn't there breakage in there with retirees also?
Yes,
That there were several teachers that are retiring, which means that salary goes away?
180,000,
Yeah.
180,000 that they put on the line item for fuel because of the gasoline.
Yeah, the fuel cost went up almost $200,000.
Yeah, and whatever contracts they're gonna have for transportation.
transportation, right. They saved on one, but then the budget failed and they increased their transportation.
I just, Mayor, you were probably here. Is this the second time in history that this school budget's gone down?
I was on the council in the 90s, and that's when everybody, all votes were in, all school votes were in April. And when I was on the council, the regional school budget failed. And so the 3 towns met, the councils from each of the 3 towns with the school board, and we cut. And then.
We did that in 2006 also.
I was on in 2000.
No, I was, yeah.
Was it regional or was it local?
Regional. We cut $1 million.
That's where I wish we could sit and cut.
And also, I just want to point out, just to speak to you were talking to your son, Oakland is only one of the handful of towns left
I did too.
where you can vote for the school budget. The other towns have moved it off so you don't have a say, such as a regional board of education and some of our surrounding towns. So, by voting for the budget, it does empower you the people, to have say in this, which other towns do not.
Absolutely.
We're one of 3 Bergen counties remaining that have an April budget.
April election.
April election, thank you. But the election costs money too. The election is over 20,000.
Can I ask a question?
You know what, I think we're gonna be informal, go right ahead, it's
Yeah.
important.
And I'm not trying to be a wise guy, but what's
No.
the point in having a vote? I appreciate you looking at the budget, but then why don't they just make it that, not to say that we're wasting our time having a vote, but then why didn't the council just review the budget every year then, instead of going through a vote?
Because it's separate.
It's Board of Ed separate from the council.
They're 2 different governing bodies.
No, I understand.
We don't
If
have a
we're-
say.
If we're voting it down, and it's not like final, and you're gonna review it, then why not just review it every year then, instead of going through a vote?
It's very disappointing.
And we're not saying that the school doesn't.
We found 117,000.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
And let me tell you something, if they are not, let's say we said if we want to cut 500,000, the law would require us to be very specific. And let's say we did, we found $500,000 worth of cuts. The school board could then appeal us.
And why does it cost so much money to have the vote?
Because why does it cost
Poll
over
workers,
20,000 to
advertising,
have this extra election?
Ballot.
That's the Mayor Richard.
No, not you.
Their costs, essentially, they come from the county to run it. So.
It's
That's
20,000,
what-
yeah.
that's
We
what's
have
involved
extra
with-
poll, an extra
And poll worker fees.
poll workers, instead of getting the,
I was
Mail out the
interested in,
ballot.
mailing out the ballots.
no, and I get that, I was interested in being a poll taker. They said they were all volunteers.
No.
No.
Down is $300 a day.
In fact, I just got a notice, didn't you get your card and they're looking for poll
They're
workers? They
looking for
can't,
more.
for more, but they can't get poll workers for the primary.
We can talk after being on that, yes, we need more poll workers for the primary.
You know, and I was telling my husband the story when I first got involved. I said, you had to know somebody to be a poll worker. It was such a pristine job, and it made money, and you got to go. You had to know somebody to become a poll worker. Now they're begging people, they're taking them from outside of the towns.
Okay, thank you. So it comes from the Bergen County Board of Elections?
Yes.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right, thank you.
So, Mayor, I think we can put a motion on the table at this point.
Well, I didn't hear from everybody. What does everybody want to do?
Put a
I
motion.
think everybody should,
Yeah, Steve.
I'd say we put a motion to approve the budget minus the $116,916 that we want to pull out.
it was 116 plus, so it, 116,916. So we should say 117,000.
Approximately $117,000.
And I second the motion?
All right, is there any discussion? I'd like to hear from some people. Anybody want to speak?
Yeah, all right.
Then roll call.
Yes, I spoke already.
All right, roll call.
I'd like to speak. You know, I talked to Dr. Cafaro. I'd just like to thank everyone on the council and everyone that was at the meetings for all the great work that they did. I'm happy that we're really not cutting any essential services, but also the taxes were addressed. They are ridiculously high, so wherever we could cut was great.
I just want to
Thank
add
you.
that the Board of Education was extremely, this was a very collaborative discussions through the whole case. There was none us versus them mentality at all. It was all, okay, we understand how do we work together, and they preparing the information to make our job easier. It was like-
No, well, you saw the packet.
It needs to be noted that they were very open and transparent with everything we needed when we asked for it.
And yes, and, all right, so,
Yeah, I just want to comment on what Ms. Saliani said also. In speaking with the BA and the superintendent, Oakland was like in the bottom 5 school districts in the county for the levy that they had put forward. So just rest assured that your school board is actually working for you compared to the other 74 towns in the Bergen County with the budget that they put forward. So they work very hard, and they're a very diligent group of people, and they're essentially very fiscally conservative with the budget that was presented.
so,
One more point, Mayor, and then please come out again and vote, right? Just keep voting, come out and vote. Please tell your son to come out and vote. His voice was heard.
so it's, the reduction, our CFO gave us a summary, a financial summary. A reduction of approximately 117,000 would lower the calendar year tax levy increase from 1.72% down to 1.35%. So, we tried, we wish we could cut more. We didn't want to hurt the school system. We wanted to, and it says the school's proposed budget would have netted the average versus $44.
The average assessed residential property
Right.
of
Yeah, the average assessed went down
$21.52.
Right.
It's actually a total of $60, Pat. So the first one was 40, 60, so the impact is negative 60
It says
per
here, the
household.
effect of, that's what I was looking for, I highlighted. The
Depends.
effect of the change in the reduction of $116,916 to the general fund budget, representing a savings to the average assessed residential property of $21.52 in the 2022 tax levy. The year-over-year calendar levy increase will drop from 1.72% down to 1.35%.
But to clarify my comment, originally the levy would have dropped $40, and then us taking another 117,000 out drops an additional 21, so the total is 60 change.
We're trying. Just keep going to the meetings, keep voicing your opinion, and keep going, and thank you for keep going to the school board, the regional.
And also, I just want to say, as far as I'm concerned, as far as a member of this council, I would never take away your ability to vote on the school budget. It's been debated ad nauseum over the last several years, but I think it's really the last bastion for you, the residents, to be able to have a say in this.
All right, and with that, roll call.
Councilman Kamala.
Yes.
Councilman Pignatelli.
Yes.
Councilman Saliani.
Yes.
Councilman Slizinski.
Yes.
So a resolution will be forthwith at the council meeting Wednesday night. We can, if anybody wants to say something, we'd love to hear your opinion, suggestions. Just keep coming and keep voting.
But you're saying we should be coming out and voting. We do have a say, so, but we don't. You're going to overturn it anyway. So,
No, they're not
No,
gonna
we're
overturn it.
reducing.
We reduced
We're
it.
reducing it 117,000.
I know,
But they-
you're
no.
overturning our decision, but I mean.
We're
it
not
is what it is.
overturning a decision.
The constituents said no, and you're going to go ahead and, yeah, you reduced a little bit of money, but you're going to go against us.
I don't understand, we're not going again.
Which is,
I think what she's saying is
She's
that
saying
you
is-
voted no. So
You voted
a
no.
lot of people think that when you voted no, that just means that the budget is done, it's final.
And it should be, rightfully so.
That's not the way,
That's not the way it
unfortunately,
works.
that's not the
Going
law.
forward.
What happens is when you voted down, came to the council. I mean, we went through this. You're welcome to go through, come to my office. You know, my office is an open book. I leave, but if you ask me for something, it's there for you. Come to my office, go through the budget. I mean, we couldn't find any other place other than the supervisors, and we were told they're needed by the state.
It's frustrating because these teachers, the teachers union, they control everything. It's the teachers, they control everything. So they come up with this packet for you guys, and I guarantee it was probably already made way before it was voted, so they can, you know, I'm thankful that you guys went page by page, because the high school does.
They don't?
They don't read one page at all. And-
Well, like I said, you're welcome. It'll be in my office. You're welcome to.
We all have one, so you come to either one of us, we'll give you our 3.
You know my office.
We all have them.
Hey, I do want to give credit to these 2 gentlemen over here for all their work in putting the packet together, our
I
packet.
do appreciate it. It's not-
Yes.
Did you ask them to look at the administrators and
Yes.
try to cut that down?
How many times did I
And
say that to
going
them?
forward, Are they gonna cut that down, or are they just gonna keep that?
I said that. I said we're very top-heavy. That's where the money is. It's extremely top-heavy,
Oh, it's
top-heavy with the amount of supervisors and administrators there are to teachers.
Which is, that's a state initiative, though. They're following
That's
state.
when they said to me, they have to have a state license, they have to have certain credentials, you have to have a supervisor for the specialized math program, you have to have a supervisor for the specialized science program, and they went through each item.
Believe me, the state really hampers us, even with our projects. We have to pay prevailing wage, which means we have to pay a non-union member
He's
the
union,
same
wait a
amount of
minute,
money.
he's union, so
I know,
be careful.
I'm just saying, you know, it costs us a lot of money for these mandates. We might not like it, the Board of Education might not like it, but until the state stops with these darn mandates, telling us what we have to do and what we have to spend our money on, our hands are also tied. But they have to stop. They really, really do.
So we're hoping that they will
It's too
not
much.
keep replacing the teachers, because that's where we can, the contract is the contract, but if you don't replace the teacher, there's nothing that the teachers union can do.
Right.
And just another thing that was also enlightening to me was, when the state provided state aid to either the schools or municipalities, sometimes the state says, we're gonna give you $250,000. And at the last minute, they'll pull the funding from the state, because the state makes a promise that they can't keep. So I mean, how do they expect a school board to budget accordingly when they're handling it, putting the carrot out there and then pulling it back? I mean, we were fortunate this year that they got $250,000 in state aid, but there's been years they didn't get any.
So like I said, you're welcome. It'll be in my office. You'll see the teacher salaries, that's where it just went up. And the supervisors, how many supervisors there are. All right, if there's no other discussion,
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
The next meeting will be this Wednesday night right here, council chambers, regular council meeting. Thank you for coming.
Mike, are you bringing the coffee?
I'll put a cake out.